KPMG last week published its annual CFO Outlook survey. The survey provides valuable insights into how CFOs and their organizations view the business environment, what they require from the government, and their response to the challenges being faced. Let's bring in Tola Adeyemi, our partner and head audit services, KPMG Nigeria. Thank you very much, Tola, for joining us on the program. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning. Thanks for having me.
So why is the CFO Outlook survey important?
It's extremely important because it provides a barometer as to how the chief financial officers of companies in Nigeria, how they view the economy, and more importantly, how they are reacting to the dynamism within the Nigerian economy. As you know, Nigeria has never been an easy place to do business. So for companies, it's all about how do we manage our businesses to cope with the environment within which we operate.
All right, Mr. What are the key trends shaping 2021 as highlighted in the survey report?
Well, the main trend, of course, is the lingering effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and what that has meant to not only the global economy, but also the local economy. Now, we know that that pandemic resulted in a slowdown and slower growth. And that in turn meant that governments all across the world have had to react to this in terms of their fiscal policies and their monetary policies. Companies at the same time have had to adapt to these policies. And this has been a major factor driving the outlook. So with COVID-19, you've seen things like remote working, you've seen things like having to rely more on technology. The other trend that emerges are social political trends coming into the fore. And we see these in Nigeria as well, with rising insecurity that characterizes the economic environment. The third trend is technology, because in spite of what's happening globally, in spite of the social political challenges, technology continues to march forward, and we continue to see businesses being disrupted by technology.
Now,
so these are the trends. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what initiatives are CFOs taking, to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on their business performance?
From the survey that we did, we see some very significant moves happening. The first and perhaps the most obvious one is a move towards more cost optimization. And when I say cost optimization, this differs from the traditional approach of just looking to where can I cut costs. This is more about taking a strategic view to costs and thinking about how we can drive efficiency using technology to lower the cost of operations. The other thing, so alongside the cost optimization, we're seeing an increased use of technology. Companies are leveraging cloud-based technology in particular to respond to the work from home challenges and also to just lower the overall cost of operations. One other significant thing that comes out from the survey is the supply chain and how companies are moving from what you would call a just-in-time supply chain to a just-in-case supply chain, because the pandemic has shown us that supply chains can easily be disrupted, and it's important that companies build in some spare capacity and resilience, really, into their supply chains. The other thing companies are doing is outsourcing. So we're also seeing an increased tendency for companies to outsource non-core operations as a way of driving efficiency and lowering costs. So the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic situation has brought about a lot of ingenuity in how companies are reacting to this in order to stay profitable. The key words for me will be proactivity and resilience.
All right, tell us about the concerns CFOs that CFOs have about the prospects of growth in the economy, and how does this impact their organizations?
Well, the previous segment spoke to some of these concerns because CFOs are essentially concerned with how the government is responding to the challenges thrown up on the economic front, how they're responding in terms of their fiscal and monetary policy. So we see CFOs being perhaps less optimistic about the growth prospects of the overall economy than they are about the growth prospects of their companies. And my sense is that this is coming from a situation of the focusing on what they can control. So they can, to some extent, control their company's reaction to what's happening in the economy. And so they're more optimistic than what's happening generally. The key challenge is the foreign exchange environment. In our survey, that came up as the key issue, the volatility in foreign exchange rates. As you know, businesses hate uncertainty, and the foreign currency situation in the country has thrown up lots of uncertainty. The other thing that has come up, of course, has been the fluctuations in the oil price and what that has meant for our economy as a whole. The third thing they're concerned about is security. I mentioned it earlier, the rising insecurity, because this means businesses, on top of having to deal with pure economic or profitability issues, also have to deal with safety concerns and how to safeguard both their operations as well as their employees.
All right, you did mention the currency issues, the security issue, and of course the price of oil. Are these the three top stay awake issues for CFOs in KPMG's 2021 survey?
They certainly featured amongst the top things. The foreign currency volatility was one, but interestingly, when it came to other stay awake issues, they mentioned the tax environment. Now, CFOs acknowledge all the steps that the government has been taking to improve the efficiency of tax administration. So they acknowledge the move to online tax filing and all the other moves to digitization. But the fundamentals still exist. CFOs are worried about the multiplicity of taxes, which is where you have taxes at every level, federal, state, and local government levels or municipalities. CFOs are concerned about how this multiplicity creates confusion, particularly for the SME sector that's so critical to driving growth within the economy. The other thing, of course, is around the transparency of the tax laws themselves and the process of dispute resolution with the tax authorities. So tax and tax administration remains a stay-awake issue. The third stay-awake issue was COVID-19, which I've spoken about, and what that means for their businesses and how they will deal with that. Because it has really meant that businesses have had to change their operating models. So even businesses that traditionally required face-to-face working, they've all had to experiment with remote working and how to enable their employees deal with remote working. So, you know, these are the sorts of things that are keeping our CFOs awake at night and disrupting their sleep.
I can imagine. But what have CFOs identified as the top three matters that, you know, the government needs to address to enable, you know, ease of doing business, economic growth, and enhance, you know, public trust?
Well, from an ease of doing business perspective, the top three things that came out from the survey: number one, was security. So, you know, it's security. CFOs are calling on government to deal with the issues of security across the country. And you know, this manifests in multiple forms. So we have the banditry, the kidnapping, the nationalistic agitations, etc. All these things need to be tackled because businesses thrive best within a stable and safe environment. The number two thing was infrastructure. And infrastructure is something that's always on the agenda. And here we're talking about the transport infrastructure in particular, because the cost of moving goods around the country is prohibitive. We need, and CFOs are calling on government to improve this road infrastructure, rail, water, and even air to ease the logistics of moving things around. The third stay awake issue is power. Again, this is something that has been recurring, and we know all the moves that have been made to try to fix the issues in the power sector. But there's still issues of funding that need to be addressed in the power sector. There's still issues of efficiency that need to be addressed. And CFOs are calling on government to fix these areas because all these things add to the cost of doing business. If these areas are not fixed, then you find companies are having to spend money trying to create their own little cocoons for themselves. And all of these add to the cost of products and make our products less competitive. So they're really important issues.
So what are the major concerns for CFOs with respect to government's thrust on tax policies?
Well, I alluded to some of these earlier. It's around multiplicity. So CFOs are saying, instead of having all these agencies taxing us at various levels, all these rates, levies, etc., is it not possible to consolidate these to, so that you have, in a sense, one or very few payments that you need to make, bring this all together? The other thing CFOs are saying is we really need to expand the tax base. We need to, yes, they acknowledge we need to increase our revenues from taxation, but it's not by overtaxing the few who are paying taxes. It's about bringing more people into the tax net. Then there's the issue of transparency and clarity of the tax laws. Now, steps are being made every year as we bring out the Finance Act to clarify some of the areas that were perhaps ambiguous. But there's still work to be done in terms of updating our tax laws and resolving inconsistencies within those laws. So these are the key things. Government is making steps on digitization and trying to make it easier for people to file and pay taxes. But the fundamentals of how the amounts of taxation themselves are determined, and the multiplicity of those taxes, those are the key issues.
Okay, before we let you go there, what level of impact do the CFOs think the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement have on businesses in 2021?
Well, the Africa Free Trade Agreements came into force finally in 2021. And CFOs recognize that this is a step in the right direction because they have, along with other bodies, have long been advocating that the way for Africa to really thrive is by increasing intra-Africa trade. So they recognize the AFTAC agreement as a way to achieve this. However, it's in its early stages. There's a need for each country, including Nigeria, to develop its AFTAC national strategy that would really ensure we get optimal benefits from this. CFOs are also, at the moment, in the process of working with in their companies to develop their corporate after strategies. So in summary, it's something that CFOs see would have a medium to long-term benefit. In the short term, what needs to be done is to really do the hard work of developing the right strategy to maximize the benefits from this free trade agreement. So I would say the benefits are still some way out in the future. The hard work of preparing and putting in place the right mechanisms is what needs to be done right now. And CFOs are working on that.
All right, Mr. Ademi, let's hope CFOs can actually sleep at night. Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. And Mr. Tola Adeyemi is the partner, head audit services, KPMG. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and do have a good day.
Thank you.